Okay, hi brothers and sisters in Christ. I am making this video. I've been wanting to make this for a couple of weeks now. I've been praying about it, and I'm going to talk fast because there's a lot of information here to cover. But basically, I watched this movie called Supervolcano that was filmed in 2005, 13 years ago. I just want to repeat that, 13 years ago. Supervolcano it's called. It's a full 2-hour movie. You can find it on YouTube, and just make sure you look up Supervolcano full 2-hour movie, because the first time I seen it, I watched just the first half. Apparently, like, it was an hour long, and then it ends as like Yellowstone was blowing, and I was like, oh no, that's the end. And so I thought that was the end, but anyways, it wasn't the end. So make sure you watch the full 2-hour one. Long story short, this is a must-see, like, tonight. You should watch this tonight. It's about Yellowstone. It was filmed in 2005. It's a British film. It's a BBC film. Also from Getty Images and CBS, also part of the production. And it's very, very, very interesting, very cryptic. Lots of interesting things, and I'm just going to run through a lot of notes that I took, and I'm going to try to talk fast because, like I said, it's a lot of information. But there's some very alarming things that, first, I'm going to go over those first, that were said in the film, and then I'm going to kind of take you through step by step the dates, because they list dates, and they kind of play out a scene from May 27th through June 27th, and then June 27th is the day of the day one of the main big eruption. And then the eruption lasts, I believe, for 7 days straight. And it's crazy. And then it takes you all the way to the very end of the movie, August 9th, where people are still... it's done. So anyways, some very alarming things that were said in the movie. First of all, there's a guy, I believe he plays like an Irish Catholic. He's a bald white guy. You'll see him in the movie right away. He's a main character. He works at Yellowstone in the science team of scientists. So anyways, he works at Yellowstone, and you'll see him. And in the very beginning of the movie, it's really early on, I would say like the first 10 minutes of the movie, they show him in the scene with another gentleman who also works there. And they show basically like the two of them are in the office, and the Irish Catholic guy, and I believe that that's his role. So I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just stating that for purposes of pointing him out. But anyways, he is on the phone, and his exact words are, "You're welcome, Your Holiness." And then he just kind of has a serious face, and then he hangs up the phone. So again, if anyone didn't hear me, he says, "You're welcome, Your Holiness," and hangs up the phone. And then the other guy, who is his coworker, looks at him and kind of laughs and is like, yeah, whoever you're talking to, like, he doesn't quite understand and thinks maybe the guy's joking. So first thing I thought was, whoa, interesting. And when I heard Holiness, I thought, well, maybe referring to the Queen or some sort of royalty. And of course I looked it up, and Holiness actually is what they referred to the Pope as. Very interesting, because the Pope, the Vatican, pretty much controls NASA, the deceivers. NASA meaning Nasad in Hebrew, which means to deceive. And it's really interesting because, so the Vatican controls NASA, and NASA recently, this is fact, has been involved with Yellowstone. And from my understanding, they have been drilling in Yellowstone, or they did drill at some point, at least once that I know of, in the fall of last year, sometime in 2017, towards the end of the year. So, and I know that they're, um, involved. So, anyways, what's interesting, so that was interesting. One thing that happened that was very alarming. Another thing was, um, as the movie progresses and right as before Yellowstone blows, the one thing that they see, the scientists see, that alarms them, that they know will make the eruption occur, is harmonic tremors. Now, I'm not an expert, I'm not a scientist, but I will tell you that I watch Mary Greeley, and I've watched my fair share documentaries and things about Yellowstone. I've read the USGS website, and believe me, there's actually a lot of information on the USGS website regarding Yellowstone, or on the Yellowstone website, actually, which is essentially USGS. But anyways, there's a lot of information, and I read through all of that and everything, and I know that, okay, just let's get back to the movie. So in the movie, they said harmonic tremors, and when they seen those occurring, they knew, oh my gosh, they even said it 2 or 3 times. Whoa, when we see harmonic tremors, that's the for sure one sign we know that an eruption is going to occur. And that means that's the moving of magma. So what is happening right now at Yellowstone, guys? Fact, harmonic tremors. Several people report on Yellowstone. You can look it up right now. Mary Greeley, just in the past month, like go to Mary Greeley and type in harmonic tremors. Bam, there's like videos pulling up of harmonic tremors at Yellowstone right now. Okay, so that was very alarming. And that was the one thing they said in the movie. Okay, I need to get back to something. You guys won't even believe this. Okay. So, in the very beginning of the movie, it says with words, it says, the movie starts and says, "This is a true story. It just hasn't happened yet." And then it cuts to like 5 years earlier. It starts off again with the August 9th in Colorado, which is kind of how it ends too. But it goes to August 9th in Colorado, and it shows basically a volcanic ash winter, essentially. Like everything's covered in ash. It's dark. Like it's like hell on earth. And then it cuts to 5 years earlier, where they were introducing this technology that at Yellowstone that showed the scientists how they could follow earthquakes and tremors and things. And then it goes back to the year of the event, to May 27th. And here's another thing that's very alarming that they talk about, is they call it several times the dragon. And one guy calls it the sleeping dragon. And they referred to it as the sleeping dragon with molten lava below, and that it's the volcanic national park's beating heart. So anyways, it goes through the movie, and it'll show a date. Like it'll cut to a scene and say May 27th, and then it'll say June 6th. So on June 6th, I was taking notes. One of the women scientists, and the 2 scientists were talking to each other, and she goes, "Oh, it's a little boy dragon." And so they referred to it as the little boy dragon. And then it goes to June 7th. And on June 7th in Norris Geyser Basin, there was a hydrothermal quake, some sort of explosion, and they called it a hydrothermal quake. And it was like a big deal. And it was like a big event, and they kind of tried to hush it. And I'm not trying to give anything away, but there's nothing to give away. We know what happens. So on June 9th, this is very interesting. There's throughout the movie a reporter who's trying to like get the story and put it out, and it gets on mainstream news. And on June 9th, fears begin to stir on mainstream news because the story's leaked that Yellowstone is going to blow, because there have been harmonic tremors and so forth. So I'm just going to skip because so on June 26th, so this is what's interesting, is the main scientist at Yellowstone, he's like a decent guy. the USGS, FEMA obviously gets involved, and FEMA has USGS, the scientist, him come to like FEMA in Washington, and they tell him that he has to make an announcement on the news because there was fears all over the world that was causing panic, because the story had leaked. So they asked him to get on the news and lie and say that it is not going to erupt and that there was nothing unusual. So putting that to today's events, that's exactly what's happening right now. So they're telling you in the beginning of the movie that this is a true story. It just hasn't happened yet. 13 years ago, of course, they're telling you that they're going to make the USGS lie and say that there's no reason to panic or have fear. So on June 27th is the first day of eruption, and within the first hour, they said it was the power of 1,000 Hiroshima bombs exploded, and it happened at night. And so then it goes through like day 2, 3, 4, and so pretty much no one was prepared. All these people were like trying to get in their cars and escape, and so the highways became like parking lots, and people just like essentially died in their cars from smoke inhalation. Interesting to note that there was a woman president, and then the head of FEMA was a woman, but also there was a woman president in the movie, which I thought was interesting, because they mentioned how she had left for her bunker somewhere around, I think, day 3 of the eruption. They said that the president, she had left for her bunker to Florida, I think they said. They did say that there was 90% people dead in the fallout zones that they had predicted, I guess. I think it was 25 million in the fallout zones. And with all the estimates, the first week of deaths alone was estimated to be 462,000 people dead from ash inhalation or roof collapses or so forth directly from ash-related incidents or ash inhalation. At 9:17 a.m. local time on day 7, the eruption column collapsed, which was over 100 miles wide, I believe, and there was 20 million people trapped, essentially from all the ash, and it took months to get to people. So that's why at the end of the movie, when they cut to August 9th, from June 27th to August 9th, like essentially a month and a half, they were barely showing people, rescuers still digging people out, or beginning to dig people out, I should say. The whole world felt it because the ash clouds moved with the wind and everything all around the world, and they felt it said the full global effects were felt a month later. So there was sulfur dioxide wrapped around the northern hemisphere. There was no sun. It was really cold. It was a drought. They call it a grand solar minimum. I call it Jesus. And 80% of the U.S. was covered in ash. Animals and people, they all rotted and fell. One thing that was really interesting, they said that, so I think it was around day 3 or 4 of the eruption, FEMA and USGS were like, we've got to tell these people to walk somewhere because they just can't sit there because it's going to be months before we get to them. So they told them, walk to life. And I think, so there was some sort of campaign or something called Walk to Life to get people to walk to essentially FEMA camps. And who knows what happens once they got there. But there was 7.3 million lives saved. Supposedly, they said at the end of the video, they were like, oh, this is an achievement. Like, they were proud of themselves. They were proud that they supposedly saved 7.3 million people because they came up with this great idea for them to walk to FEMA camps while they inhaled volcanic ash. And another interesting thing that was said in the video, early on in the video, there was one of the women was on the phone, USGS, talking with either FEMA or the government or NASA, and they specifically were talking about how NASA said, let's drill below, let's drill in there to try to stop it from blowing, when they were concerned of the blow. And even the girl was like, no. And she quotes, drilling below will cause the whole thing to go off. So she even says, drilling is going to cause the whole thing to go off. So anyways, main points here to note is they say this is a true story. This is BBC Films, you guys. They clearly were like, you're welcome, Your Holiness, taking orders from Your Holiness. They tell you this is going to happen. They have to tell you it's going to happen. Satan has to tell you his moves. They tell you it's going to happen. It's just the year. What year is it? I don't know. Could these be the right dates? I don't know. But very interesting that it was June 27th. And with all of this activity going on right now. And they tell you that they lie to you. They tell you in the movie that they lie to you. And that they will make announcements, and they will make several announcements, whatever they have to do to stop panic in the U.S. and to stop stocks falling and whatever they have to do. So, yeah, I just wanted to put this out. I've been meaning to put this out for a while, and the Lord wanted me to get this out. That was a message too that I have. And I just want to tell people that this is serious. Yellowstone is serious. If you think that they really thought Yellowstone was going to blow, that they would tell you or tell anybody, or that they would not go out of their way to spend millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, to create a campaign of lies to keep the truth from you and to keep the truth from the public, the people, Americans, the world, so that it wouldn't affect stocks, housing, anything like that. Another thing that happened in the movie, Mexico closed its borders. Everyone was trying to walk into Mexico. They wouldn't let Americans in. All right, everybody. This is May 31st, 2018. Jesus is our Savior.